You're watching KYTX CBS 19 in HD. This is KYTX CBS 19 News at 5.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. I'm Gillian Sheridan. Mike has the night off. Off the top tonight, one person shot, two others in custody following a shootout with the Texas Rangers this afternoon. It happened just north of Maybank in Van Zandt County around 1 o'clock. Rangers were attempting to arrest three suspects when they took off, ending in a shootout on County Road 2718, according to Inforny.com. One suspect was taken by helicopter to a Tyler hospital. The Texas Rangers are expected to release more details later today. And one man is dead after a shooting in Longview, and officers have not found the person who shot him. This was the scene this morning on Jones Street. Police arrived at this house just after 9 when someone called 911 to report a shooting. The Longview Police Department obtained a search warrant to enter the home. Gray County Justice of the Peace James Mathis confirmed a man did die in the house, but wouldn't release his name, age, or race at this point. Officers are investigating to find out who shot this man and why.
At this point, the detectives will be talking to neighbors, talking to people that may have known the victim, to kind of piece together what may have happened.
Neighbors tell us the owner of the home is a woman. We will have more on the story as information becomes available. A follow-up tonight, we are learning more about the suspect in yesterday's murder-suicide in Smith County. Court records show 41-year-old Delethro Bell, who shot and killed his wife and then himself, has a history of violence. Bell was arrested in 1995 on aggravated assault charges, accused of pushing his then-girlfriend down the stairs and threatening her with a gun. 2 years later, Bell was charged with terroristic threats, and in 2000, Bell completed deferred adjudication after being charged with assaulting another woman. New information. The executive director of a Jacksonville animal shelter has been arrested on charges of animal abuse, illegal euthanasia, and assault. 35-year-old Angela Wallace was arrested at Klein Animal Shelter around 10 o'clock this morning. Police say they've been getting complaints about alleged animal abuse there for years, but didn't have enough evidence to make an arrest until this week. Our Nina Harrelson has been following this story, and we'll have more details on this later on CBS 19 News at 6 o'clock. A developing story we're following. Police in Belgium, France, and Germany arrested more than 24 suspects today in an anti-terrorism raid. Authorities found assault rifles, bomb-making materials, and police uniforms at a terror hideout in eastern Belgium. Islamic militants came out shooting at police. They believe the suspects were just hours away from carrying out a large-scale attack on Belgian police. The head of Europe's law enforcement agency says stopping terror attacks has become extremely difficult. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister David Cameron and President Obama addressed the press after 2 days of meeting between the two world leaders about terrorism overseas. CBS News' Craig Boswell has the latest tonight from the White House on what the president had to say.
President Obama and British Prime Minister David Cameron met in the Oval Office to discuss shared challenges.
We covered a lot of ground.
In a joint newser, Cameron summed up the chief concern.
Security. Economic security, the jobs and the living standards of our citizens, and national security, the ability of our peoples to live safely and in peace.
They focused on security in the Middle East. Preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon is a priority for both countries.
Given their missile capabilities, it would threaten directly our closest allies, including Israel, and ultimately could threaten us.
President Obama says the recent Paris attacks underscore the need for further cooperation in the fight against terrorism.
American-British unity is enabling us to meet challenges in Europe and beyond.
Both countries will also be working together to keep citizens safe in a world made smaller by the internet.
Given the urgent and growing danger of cyber threats, we decided to expand our cooperation on cybersecurity to protect our critical infrastructure, our businesses, and the privacy of our people.
And the two leaders say with a slowing global economy, now is the time to push for a new trade pact between the U.S. and European Union. Craig Boswell, CBS News, the White House.
President Obama and the Prime Minister say that they have had talks with companies such as Facebook, urging them to work with governments to find a balance between the need to track terrorists and the privacy of Internet users. An update now on that fatal accident in Brownsboro yesterday afternoon. Police have now released the name of the woman involved. Julie Patrick of Tyler died in a two-vehicle accident on Highway 31. Happened around 12:30 in the afternoon. Police say Patrick's car veered into oncoming traffic for unknown reasons, causing a head-on collision with an 18-wheeler. The investigation is still ongoing. Well, boxing great Muhammad Ali has been released from the hospital after being readmitted last night. It was for follow-up care related to a urinary tract infection. Ali was initially hospitalized December 20th and then released last week. He's also had a long battle with Parkinson's disease. Ali hopes to celebrate his 73rd birthday tomorrow with family. Looking ahead, a pretrial hearing is set for the man charged with shooting his son's mother in the Gilmer High School parking lot, allegedly, during a junior high football game in 2013. Shepard was arrested and charged after the shooting that killed 29-year-old Cheyenne Green in Gilmer September 26th near Buckeye Stadium. Jury selection will happen in the 115th District Court at 9 a.m. Tuesday. Traffic signal changes are underway in Tyler's Azalea District. The City Council approved a $140,000 budget to expand its adaptive control system. The system is used for light timing, which council members say is needed for busy intersections like 5th and Broadway. All changes are expected to take place by June. Happening now, scientists from NOAA and NASA have announced that 2014 was the hottest year in recorded history. CBS News correspondent Wendy Gillette reports. They say that's a clear sign global warming is still very much affecting the Earth.
It was so unusually warm last month in Alaska, kids made a Christmas video of themselves playing in gravel instead of snow. A heat wave this September in Southern California made working out nearly impossible.
My body's just like throbbing.
And umbrellas were the only shield against the sun as the temperature hit 114 degrees in Phoenix in July. Those were just some of the weather patterns that contributed to an average worldwide temperature of a little over 58 degrees Fahrenheit for 2014, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. That's nearly 1.25 degrees hotter than the 20th century average, beating records set in 2005 and 2010.
It's part of a pattern of increasingly warm years that we're seeing that's a long-term trend, mostly driven by greenhouse gases.
In the U.S., last month was the second warmest December on record. In Europe, 2014 was warmer than any other year since records have been kept. And in central Russia, at times, temperatures reached 41 degrees higher than normal.
This planet is in trouble, and it will only get worse unless we move boldly to cut carbon emissions.
The White House agrees, saying the report is a reminder that climate change is happening and that we can't wait to take action. Wendy Gillette for CBS News, New York.
Scientists say last year's record is also significant because it happened during a year when there was no El Niño weather pattern. According to NOAA records, 9 of the 10 hottest years have occurred since the year 2000. Speaking of warmth, the sun came out again. That's warmed us up here, and it is pretty nice. Meteorologist Doc Deason here with a look at our evening and weekend planner. Looks dynamite.
I'm loving this. Regardless of what you say, man, it's hard to beat this. Let's look at Weather Authority Live Camera Network. We'll see what we've got cooking in Longview. 59 right now. Not bad at all. Some clouds. Even with the clouds, we're still managing to pull almost 60 off at a lot of spots across East Texas. And you're really going to like what we got coming up for you over the next couple of days. Let's look at the evening planner first. We stay away from the frost tonight. Had a widespread, pretty heavy frost across most of the area this morning. We're at 50 by 8 o'clock tonight. We'll be down to around 47 at 10. Not nearly as cool overnights and or over the upcoming weekend. And then we turn the cold air back on just in time for the mid part of next week. We'll talk more on that, Gillian, in just a couple of minutes, okay?
All right, thank you, Doc. Well, what automaker wants to come to Texas but is hitting speed bumps along the way? We'll tell you about it. Plus, a big movie hitting the silver screen this weekend is drawing some mixed reactions. What veterans have to say about American Sniper. First, here's a look at today's closing numbers from Wall Street. All up.
CBS 19 closed captioning is brought to you by Southside Bank. Southside Bank. Banking made easy. We promise.
The release release of the long-anticipated movie American Sniper may bring up old and very painful memories for some of the nation's men and women in the military. Myra Moreno, with our station in San Antonio, shows us this movie was met with mixed feelings.
It actually took me about 3.5 years to remember most of my day.
Bobby Eric, retired Army Master Sergeant, is talking about what happened in 2006 in Iraq.
I actually ended up in San Antonio because I got blown up in Iraq in 2006.
This is a picture of him during his recovery at SAMC.
I was here when the casualties were coming in by the dozens.
It's a time he says was difficult to swallow, losing friends he fought with on the front lines. Eventually, the Philadelphia native decided to call Military City, USA, home.
I actually felt like I belonged here.
We found Bobby at the premiere of American Sniper, the premiere sponsored by the Chris Kyle Frog Foundation, a group put together to honor the legacy of the highly decorated Navy SEAL.
I got a military-age male on a cell phone watching the convoy over.
The film is based on the life and service of Kyle, the most prolific sniper in military history. He served 4 tours in Iraq and when finally back home, reached out to other veterans.
Is it going to be difficult for you to watch this film tonight?
Probably yes. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to be able to sit through the whole thing.
He says war films always trigger memories. American Sniper won't be any different. He just wants those who see it to realize one thing.
I hope that people, when they watch movies like this, that they understand that it does take a toll on the people involved in the war, and that even if they don't support the conflict or the elections or presidents, that they support the people that are actually volunteering to do that.
American Sniper is playing at theaters across East Texas. Check the theater nearest you for times. A consumer alert to tell you about now if you've been watching gas prices. How about this one? $1.44 a gallon in Tomball. That's just outside of Houston. It can be found at this striped station in Tomball on 249. Regular gas, $1.47 or $1.44 if you pay cash. If that sounds cheap, it ought to. According to GasBuddy.com, it is the cheapest in the country right now.
And I know the motorists are like, woohoo, we're saving money, but it really is scary for my dad because those people could potentially lose their jobs because of it. So.
Of course, cheap gas is a two-edged sword, as she said. In the energy capital of the world, people are seeing some layoffs in Southeast Texas already. Capable of 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds, Tesla's Model S is one of the fastest electric vehicles on the market, and the company wants to speed into Texas. Under Texas law, Tesla is not allowed to sell directly to customers in Texas. It's designed to protect Lone Star State dealers who fear their multi-billion-dollar dealerships would go under if Tesla sold directly to buyers. So right now, Texans have to buy online through California.
I do want the law changed, not just because I'm a Tesla owner, but because I'm a Texan. I had to actually fly to San Francisco, California to test drive the car before I bought it.
All he wants is an exception to a good law that serves Texas and Texans, and what it does, it establishes a monopoly for him and eliminates his competition.
It could cost Texas millions in terms of jobs and car plants. Tesla's owner says he will fight the law in this upcoming legislative session and that it's good for competition and the consumer. Still ahead, this pop star is known for reaching out to fans in unique ways. But we'll show you how Taylor Swift sent a gift that is saving this woman money. Plus, Doc has your forecast.
Well, I hope you got some outdoor plans set up for the weekend. If you don't, there's still plenty of time. You're going to want to be outdoors after we show you the temperatures we've got. We've also got some colder air on the way. Back in a minute.
KYTX CBS 19 Weather and Weather App are brought to you by Texas Spine and Joint Hospitals. From your local news leader, here's your CBS 19 Weather Authority forecast with meteorologist Doc Deason.
This is one of the reasons why we love these cameras. Weather Authority Live Camera Network looking back to the west, showing the high, thin clouds and a really pretty sunset across East Texas. Our shot here from Troop in the Loop. We got 57 right now. Not much of a breeze, but what we do have is coming out of a west-southwest direction, and that's going to help in the warming process overnight and especially during the day tomorrow. Let's look at what we have tonight, though, as we look at satellite and radar composite. We've had this real thin deck of clouds, which has been moving across throughout the day. Thin enough to where we can still get some pretty good sun coming through that, and therefore temperatures are responding accordingly. And We're really glad for it. 58 now at Tyler, Longview. You got 60s down towards Lufkin and at Crockett. Palestine still holding on to 60. And then cooling off somewhat 57 right now as we get into Titus County at Mount Pleasant. 57 Sulphur Springs. Winds, again, that southerly component in place across most of the spots where the wind's moving. Not much wind in Henderson or Longview right now or at Mount Pleasant. Temperatures across the rest of the region have a lot of folks in the 60s. We are not alone here in the pleasant weather. 60 DFW, 61 there Waco, and pleasant conditions all the way down to South Texas and even up into the Panhandle. 61 Amarillo and Lubbock. I know those folks there are pretty psyched about that. In-house computer model tonight continues to show us with some clouds scooting across the area. I think they will help to slow our cooling process somewhat, that and the wind tonight. We get into the daylight period on Saturday with a lot of sunshine, and since we'll start off warmer tomorrow morning than we were this morning, you would of course expect that we would probably be warmer tomorrow afternoon, and that's exactly what we're going to do with plenty of sun. I hope you got some outdoor plans, because you're going to want to have some type of interaction with the outside tomorrow, especially after what we've had over the past couple of weeks. Winds tonight again out of the south. Not much of a breeze across the deep East Texas counties, but we'll go 5 or so miles an hour across the remainder of the area where the trees aren't quite so thick, and we're going to be just about on the breezy side tomorrow. South-southwest winds 10 to occasionally as high as 15 miles an hour. That, again, it comes out of that direction, helps us with the warming process. So the weak boundary slides through tomorrow evening. It'll shift the winds around, and that'll be about it, maybe a degree or so cooler as we get into the day on Sunday, but not bad. 38 tonight, 64 tomorrow. We'll be looking at mid to upper 60s across the southern counties. So Lufkin, the folks down in Houston County, be mindful of that. You'll be even better. 37 tomorrow night with that slightly drier air mass, and we'll take a few off for Sunday, but still not bad. Above 60, and that's a heck of a good note here. 65 on Monday. A lot of folks got the holiday. 61 Tuesday. We start to trend the temperatures down heading into the second half of the week, Gillian. That's that cold air that I've been talking about here, I guess, since earlier on this week. It starts to gradually filter in, and there are still quite a few question marks being a week out on how cold it's going to be. I think it's going to be pretty cold, though, so be prepared for that. And we'll be talking about it on Facebook and Twitter over the weekend. Appreciate it if you like my page there. And, of course, also follow us at CBS19.tv. But let's not worry about next week. Let's just worry about this weekend.
I'm just going to enjoy the next 5 days.
Got to just sit in the yard and enjoy yourself.
Great. All right. Thank you, Doc.
Yes, ma'am.
Caught on camera, one Taylor Swift fan was in for the surprise of her life when a box was delivered to her door. Look.
Thank you so much. I can't even. Just look her head up.
The surprise brought tears to Rebecca Bortnicker's eyes. It was full of gifts arranged by Taylor Swift herself. A card, picture, watercolor painting, and a necklace that she'd actually worn. But the biggest gift of all, $1,989 to help pay off Bortnicker's student loans.
It's one of the most generous things anyone could have ever done for me, and it's just amazing.
By the way, 1989 is the title of the singer's newest album. It's also the year she and 25-year-old Bortnicker were born. Bortnicker studied fashion merchandising at a community college. Now Taylor was one fan who will never forget her kindness. It's amazing. All right, a new drug is being tested in Texas that could help people with Alzheimer's disease. A look at the study and how you could get involved just after the break.
Get your news when you want it. Visit CBS19.tv for breaking news, top headlines, and up-to-the-minute information on all the day's stories. Your news is just a click away. CBS 19 News. Coverage you can count on. Tonight on CBS 19, don't miss all new episodes of Undercover Boss, Hawaii Five-0, and Blue Bloods. Then, stay tuned for CBS 19 News at 10 for local news, weather, and sports coverage you can count on. Quality reporting. Exclusives. CBS 19 News. Coverage you can count on.
A CBS 19 health alert now. Alzheimer's is devastating. More than 5 million people in the U.S. have it. Every 67 seconds, someone gets it. And 500,000 people are dying from it each year. But as Kevin Reese with our station in Houston shows us, a new drug is being tested in Houston. Could it be a new answer in the fight?
As a young man, Thane Mansky loved adventure. That 3-speed bike with the basket on the front. He and a friend pedaled cross-country one summer, west coast all the way to New York City. And he was a romantic, surprised his girlfriend with a real engagement ring hidden inside a Cracker Jack box. Her name is Rochelle.
55 years.
55 years of marriage, 3 children and 6 grandchildren later.
He got lost a time or two.
And Thane Mansky's memories of those times of his life are starting to fade.
Well, he was diagnosed a year and a half ago.
Diagnosed with Alzheimer's. He's in the early stages. His family has taken his car keys away. He can't manage the family's finances anymore.
Yes, you are. You're 78. Soon to be 79.
And in a conversation across the living room, the diagnosis skips his memory too.
Impaired. You have trouble with your memory.
I do?
Yes, you do.
I forgot.
I know. That's the joke.
Alzheimer's? No. I don't know.
Do you know it's Alzheimer's?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't? But there is a glimmer of hope at the Nance National Alzheimer's Center at Houston Methodist Hospital.
And if you can please hold your hands up in front of you, that's great.
Where Thane Mansky is helping test a new drug.
And this is the MRI of somebody with Alzheimer's disease.
Dr. Joseph Mazdo is the principal investigator for a drug called T817MA. In lab tests, it has improved memory and nerve cell health in mice.
We want to study the typical person with Alzheimer's.
Now, Houston Methodist is one of 50 test sites in the U.S. and the only one in Texas trying to determine if it can slow the rate of Alzheimer's in people, like Thane Mansky.
We won't know until the study is completed, but at least we have good reasons to believe that this medication may help.
As for Thane Mansky, his family doesn't know if he's getting the real drug or the placebo, but they do know his sense of humor remains intact.
Look at me. Your hair was sticking up.
Not perfect?
Yeah, you're perfect.
And they're hoping this study will help them keep the Thane they love as long as possible.
A sweet relationship. Houston Methodist is the only test site in Texas. They expect to enroll about 20 patients. People who have already been diagnosed with mild to moderate Alzheimer's may be eligible for this study. In today's CBS19.TV web exclusive, wearing a Star Wars costume turns into a life-saving decision for an Australian man. Scott Lockley was traveling the Australian desert, look at him there, trying to raise money for a children's hospital. He says the armor actually saved him from a venomous snake bite. To see this story, go to CBS19.TV, click on the news link, and look for web exclusives. What are the odds? All right, we'll be right back. What do you do with an old washing machine? Turn it into a fish tank, of course. Yep, that's what you're looking at there. Some guys who work at an appliance store in Rochester, New York, did just that. They put LED lights on the cover that changes colors, even the ventilation system, and then they brought in the fish. It became quite the attraction in the showroom. It's not for sale, though. Took 50 hours to construct the fish tank washing machine. It's pretty cool, though. Well, Doc has that final look at the forecast, a beautiful forecast, too.
That's a pretty, and those aren't old washing machines, all that old, and they're very expensive.
That one's even more expensive.
I was going to say, so yeah, real quick, wow, let's look at the evening planner. We got temperatures, nice, 50 by 8 o'clock. We're down to 47 at 10 tonight. Day planner for tomorrow, you're really going to like it. We'll be at 40 around 8 o'clock, and we're at 64 tomorrow for a high. More at 6 o'clock there, Gillian, okay?
All right, thank you, Doc. For a look at what's coming up on the CBS Evening News, we go to Charlie Rose in New York.
The Supreme Court agrees to weigh in on one of the most contentious social issues of our time, new details on the case that could change the lives of same-sex couples in America. Plus, targeting the terrorists, 4 European nations stage raids aimed at heading off more attacks. Those stories and more tonight on the CBS Evening News.
And here's a look at what we are working on for 6 o'clock, how to check out a pet. A new way to help an East Texas animal shelter that will save money and maybe adopt more pets along the way. That's coming up in 30 minutes right here on CBS 19 News. Thank you for joining us tonight at 5 o'clock for the latest news, weather, and sports. Anytime, head to CBS19.TV. CBS Evening News is up next. Have a great night.
KYTX CBS 19 News app is brought to you by Hyundai of Longview. You pick it out, we'll work it out. We're KYTX. Texas is in our name.
Tonight, do same-sex couples have a constitutional right to marry? We're about to find out. Jan Crawford tells us the Supreme Court has agreed to decide one of the most contentious social issues of our time. Targeting the terrorists, 4 European nations stage raids aimed at heading off more attacks. Dozens are arrested. Charlie D'Agata has details. Analysis from former CIA insider Michael Morell. Vicente Arenas on new figures showing 2014 was the warmest year on record. The White House says it is a call to action. And Steve Hartman on the road with a custodian who takes special care of a school's most valuable assets.
I am so proud of you as a young man.
This is the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley.
Good evening. Scott is on assignment. I'm Charlie Rose. The United States Supreme Court is taking up one of the biggest cases of the 21st century. The justices will decide whether same-sex marriage will become the law of the land. At issue, does the Constitution's guarantee of equal protection under the law mean gay couples have the same right to marry as straight couples?